Welcome to the HP Online Teaching Assistant, an initiative of HP Education. Today we'll explain how to create an educational live event. For starters, what is a live event? It is a broadcast with audio and video, and for the case that we are going to see today, which is OBS plus YouTube, it would be a real-time broadcast where a person sends live content to a platform, and this is seen by users who are connected. For example, I'm using a program, OBS, which can broadcast my screen live to a platform, in this case YouTube. On YouTube, apart from being able to upload videos that are pre-recorded, it has a feature that launches live events without having previously created the video. It's done live. It's not a video call and it's not a meeting, so let's not confuse the OBS or YouTube with the calls we can make in Hangouts, Teams, or Zoom, etc. Similarly, there are many programs with dual functionality where we can make video calls and share live content. Then there are platforms, as I mentioned before, to broadcast live events for free, such as YouTube, which requires only a Gmail account, whether it's personal or educational, and Microsoft Teams, that requires an Office 365 account. Today, we will focus on YouTube. Let's see, what's the purpose of creating a live educational event? It can be used to give online courses or webinars because we can launch the event and have people join in and engage that content in real time. In addition, they can ask questions and we can respond using the platform's chat. We can also make external connections with other schools, universities, organizations, even for artistic, musical, or theatrical events. This is very important if we want to do a musical exposition. For example, we can do it through streaming. We can also do tutorials and lectures at the beginning of the course. What do we need to create live events? We need, first of all, a computer, a PC, a laptop, or a desktop PC. We need a microphone to talk and to be heard. We must also have an internet connection of at least 10 megs. Not knowing how much connection you might have, but to watch videos, you already have 10 megs. The minimum is 5 megs to be able to broadcast, but with 10, which I think everyone with internet reaches that speed, you would be able to broadcast live events. We also need a YouTube account, which can be a personal or educational Gmail account, as I said before. We need a program to broadcast. That, in this case, would be OBS Studio. And I recommend that you have headphones so that you can listen to the sound of your PC. And if, for example, you hear it live and you hear it directly or without an echo, in the case of a laptop or other system. And we also need a webcam, in case we want to give more personalized courses and we want to be seen giving the course. A webcam is not an essential item, so this would be the basic equipment you need to create live events. So the process of creating a live event is easy. We have our microphone, our headphones, and the webcam if we want to turn it on. We also have the PC, where we have the streaming and recording program OBS. Then we have the YouTube stream key. I'll show you in a while how to get the key. When you create a live event, that live event automatically gets a streaming code. And with this streaming code, we're going to be able to start YouTube Live, which would be the live events on YouTube. I'll give you some recommendations for when you do live events. First, practice. Perform some trial event to rehearse and check that the elements are all right: images, audio, webcam, etc. This is very important, especially if we are beginning to do live events and use streaming. Moderators, if you can, have 1 or 2 people in charge of moderating the session, who you keep in touch with to help you. Imagine that you're not being heard clearly. It's always useful having someone there to give you directions on whether you have to turn up the volume of your microphone or if there are any queries in the chat. In advance, set up the event 15 to 30 minutes before and share a scene or slide with an introduction to the event. I've seen some events start with music and an introductory image with the event information. Communication. Plan how and when you will communicate with your audience and check that the chat is working well. At the beginning of an event, you can ask the attendees about the chat and if they are hearing and seeing you. Audio. Having a good microphone is essential. It is not recommended to do live streaming or events with the computer audio. Avoid surrounding noise and test it before the event to make sure it works well. Lighting. If we are going to use a webcam, we have to make sure that the lighting looks good through the camera so that there isn't a lot of darkness, but that we are seen with enough lighting. We should always have a light on. Content preparation. What content we're going to share, whether we're going to have a presentation or we're just going to capture the screen and teach something. If you are using a presentation, open it and open the windows in your browser you need and configure the OBS in advance. Remember that OBS is our broadcast program. Double screen. This is very important. It is not necessary, but I highly recommend it because it's always good to perform live events with two monitors, one in which the content is shown, for example, the presentation, and another to follow the event. Then, on the other screen, you can monitor the chat for questions. So these would explain the main recommendations. And now let's look at the steps to create a live event. First, I'll explain the steps, and then I'll do it in a practical way. Anyway, in this link, you can download the complete guide of the steps on how to create a live event with OBS and YouTube. Your first step is to access youtube.com with your Gmail account to create the live event. The second step is to download OBS Studio in www.obsproject.com. That is the website where you can download the program OBS. OBS is a program that allows us to broadcast live and besides, to record the content of your computer, so that we do not have to download any extra program to record the screen. If you want to download it to screen record without making it live, you can do so. It is a totally free software that you can use to make those tutorials for your class. Step 3 would be to create and schedule a live event on YouTube. Fourth, once created, share that event through a link. This YouTube link is short, unlike the very long links that other platforms generate. But even so, to get metrics of who joins and how many times they click the link, it can be shortened with Bitly. Bitly is a tool used to shorten and customize links. Fifth, get the stream key of the event. When we create a live event, that event has its own stream key, and that key changes for every broadcast we do. This means we can do several events at once. If we're a company or a school and we're doing several events with the same account, it can be done. Since each event has its own stream code, which is like a password, we input that code in our OBS program and can now launch live content. Sixth, connect OBS Studio to YouTube using the same stream key. 7. And then we can begin the retransmission in OBS Studio and go live in YouTube Studio. That is to say, we have to start on both platforms. First in the encoder is our OBS software program, and then we start the YouTube event. And finally, when we finish the event, we can end it. First, we end it on YouTube, and then we end it on the OBS. It is automatically recorded to our YouTube channel. Now let's practice. As I mentioned before, the first step is to go to YouTube, and here on the right we have some icons. This is our user, this for notifications, this for applications, and this video camera serves to upload a video or go live. We are going to select Go Live, and it automatically opens YouTube Studio. In another tab of our browser, we input www.obsproject.com to download OBS. If you have Windows, download it here. If it's a Mac or Linux, just choose according to your operating system. It will download, and you just have to run it to install it on your computer. I already have it installed. This is my OBS. If I put it here, you see that, since it records the screen, it duplicates an infinite number of times. Now let's go back to YouTube. To create our live event, we click on Schedule Stream, and you'll see this window where you can enter all the information about the event. Let's put in a title. Welcome to the webinar about live events. What do I want? To make it public, unlisted, or private? I'm going to choose this one so that only people with the link can see it. Now we select the theme of our event. Here you have a list to choose from. In my case, it would be education. And now we must define a date and an hour. I can schedule it for later or for next month. I'll save it for later today. Then we can upload a custom thumbnail. I'm going to upload this one I already have prepared. We mark this option to indicate that the event does not have content created for children. This is very important because if you check this saying yes, the chat will not be activated. So if you want to have that interaction with the audience, you have to check no. And that's all there is to create it. We click here and it's done. In the Manage tab, you will see all the events created. Here I can edit the event again because I want to change the name, the thumbnail, or whatever. If I want to share the link for this event for others to join, I click here to copy it. People who enter with this link can participate in my live event. And this is where we find the stream key for the event, which is what we'll have to place in the OBS. In the Manage tab, you will always be able to find your next live events. That is to say, if you program them for within a week, you just need to go to YouTube Studio. This is the URL, studio.youtube.com, and you go there to find your events. Click on the event, and it will open the settings window. Now I'm going to copy the stream key to paste it in my OBS. Now I'm going to show you what the OBS configuration should be. So this would be my OBS, and in my sources, I have added a display capture of my second screen. That is to say, I've placed my OBS on my second screen right now so you can see it. I'm going to split my screen in two to make it more obvious. You see what I have here is seen on the screen of my OBS. If I were broadcasting, this would be what people connected to my live event would be watching. Now what we have to do is go to Settings, click on the Stream tab, and here we must make sure that in Service we have selected YouTube or YouTube Gaming. And where it says Stream Key, delete this as it is from another transmission that I did. Paste the one for the new event. Now I go to the Output tab. In video bitrate, I have 3500 kpbs. If you have less megs of internet, you could lower the speed to 2000. And if you have a lot of megs, you could raise it to much more like 6000 or 7000. Here, you can change the location of where your OBS recordings are saved, but this only applies if you click the option Start Recording. I, for example, am doing this video tutorial from OBS. If I click Stop Recording, I can go to this location and watch the video recording on my screen. If you just click Start Streaming, nothing would be recorded. And then in the Video tab, here in Base Resolution, you can change this resolution if you want to. I recommend 1280 by 720, and in common FPS values, I recommend 30. Otherwise, I wouldn't touch anything else. As I have finished my configuration, I click on Apply and OK and start streaming. That means that it will connect to my event created in YouTube and see everything that my OBS captures. I'm going to expand my YouTube window. You can see that it is already connected. OBS is streaming everything I do in my second screen. And if I click here on Go Live, the people who are connected will be able to see everything you are seeing here. Let's test it out. I'm going to click Go Live, and I'm going to copy the link to share with the viewers. And I'm going to paste it in an in-private window. Let's test it out. I'm going to click Go Live, and I'm going to copy the link to share with the viewers. And I'm going to paste it in an in-private window. As a viewer, I would be watching everything. Now I'm going to end the transmission. This is a report of the broadcast that YouTube generates for you. Number of playbacks, peak concurrence connected simultaneously, new subscribers to my channel, duration, total watch time, and average watch time. Then, if you wanted to crop your video, for example, you could go to Edit in Studio. Remember that you would have the recording of your event on YouTube, so then I could go watch it as many times as I want, or edit it. And finally, I would go to my OBS and click Stop Streaming. This will bring our live event to an end. Now I want to show you the OBS interface and how I would prepare my OBS for a live event, apart from the settings I just showed you. This is my OBS. Inside OBS, we have the scenes that you see in this box on the left, and the sources that are next. In OBS, we can create as many scenes as needed. For example, I have one to start my live events and another scene for the broadcast of the live event. Like this one, I have one here called Streaming. This already defines each one, depending on what you need. I am currently recording from OBS, and as you can see inside my streaming scene, I have these two sources that I previously added. This source that says Screen, I added to share my second screen with you. I have my display capture source that I just showed you, and the audio input capture, so that you can listen to me. Every time I talk, this bar on the left moves. This eye is visibility of the sources. If I disable my screen source, you will stop seeing my screen. I return and activate it, and you can see it again. This is to lock my source. If I unlock it, I can move it, and by locking it, I'll not be able to move it. Now let's see these buttons down here, both scenes and sources. The plus is to add. Then here, I can name the scene and click OK. The same thing with sources. After, I'll show you the options we have. Now, if I hover over Streaming and I click it, it asks if I want to delete it. I'll check No. And these up and down arrows serve to change the position. The same with fonts. If I pause on my screen source and click on the cog symbol, a settings window for that source opens. Then I could change and say that I want to share Screen 1. On Screen 1, I have a PowerPoint open, which is the one you are seeing right now. But in this case, I'll continue to share Screen 2. Now I'm going to create a scene that's called Intro for the start of my live event. You're going to stop hearing me because each time we create a scene, we have no source. So the first thing I'm going to do is add an audio input capture so you can hear me again. Now you can hear me again, and you'll be seeing the black screen because I have no source other than my microphone. Now I'll add an image. In the PowerPoint that I showed you on Screen 1, I created some images, which, in this case, is the cover of my live event, which would be this. I had previously saved it on my desktop, so I just had to select it from my browser. What else can I have in this scene? An audio source output capture, which is for you to hear the sound coming out of my computer. For example, I could enter the event 3 minutes before and leave you in my intro scene with the event cover and ambiance music. Whether it is playing on Spotify, YouTube, or my music player, all the sound coming out of my computer can be heard. I'm currently going to open a video on YouTube. If I click play, you'll be able to listen to it.
What is love? I don't know why you are not fair. I give you my love, but you don't care. So what is right?
If I turn off the visibility eye of my audio output capture, you will stop hearing the video that I have playing on YouTube. But if I activate it, you'll hear it again.
And what is wrong? Just give me a sign.
I keep the intro organized with the sources I want. The only thing that would disable would be my microphone, so you can't hear me if I speak. Now I'm going to return to my streaming scene. Here, I do want you to hear me, so I'd make it visible. Now we're going to see other source options, the audio capture and the audio output capture. Sometimes I use the browser color source to give it a background. I'm going to add one. I can change the color. In this case, I'll leave it blank. I can change the size using the nodes in the margin. I'm going to fit it, and I'm going to send it to the background. Then here, you can see that I prefer the white background in screen above. Additionally, I'll add an overlay. Then go to Image, type Overlay 1, click OK. Look for the image that I have on my desktop and click OK. Right-click on the image, Transform and Fit to Screen to adjust the size. I lock it so it doesn't move, and now I unlock Screen and I'm going to arrange it so it looks good in my frame. Since my scene is ready, now I'm going to add a final scene that is called Closure, because that's where I want to place another overlay. You can hear me again because I added the audio input capture. I'm going to add a source from image, and I'm looking for my overlay 2 as I did before. I adjust the size of the image. In this scene, I've placed this overlay differently because maybe I want to share my screen in the large box and share my camera for you to see, and something specific in the smaller box. Why I don't do it in the streaming scene is because I would have to be resizing my screenshot, and the idea is for you to be able to make the quick changes. Now I'm going to add a new display capture source so you can see my screen. Here I'm going to select Screen 2 again, and I have to adjust it to the size I need so it looks good in my frame. I push it to the back for my overlay. I'm going to lock both of them so they don't move. And now I could add another source, for example, Video Capture Device, that would be my camera, and I could put it in the small frame above for you to see me. Or I could place a specific URL, then go to Browser. At this point, this URL is predefined as OBS Studio, but I could replace it with any other URL. For this exercise, I will leave this and then make it smaller so that it fits in the window of my overlay. And now I send it back, lock it, and it's ready. There are many more sources. The ones I showed you are the ones I use most. For example, if I go to Enter, I can add a text source. Here, I write whatever I want. Welcome. I can change the font and the color. In this case, I want it white because my background is black, and I place it here. This would be the basics of OBS that you should know. Thank you for watching this video, offered by HP Online Teaching Assistant, an initiative of HP Education.